Happy Wednesday, you all. Yeah, you believe I was messing around with the thing and then this whole thing just start acting up. Stop touching stuff, Lisa. Stop touching stuff. I have to stop touching stuff. Okay. Uh welcome. It's every time I'm doing something, every time I'm like, oh, my mic. I wanted to get my mic. And I went and touched it and I disappeared. So I'll have to figure that out another time. All right, say hi, say hello. Let me do this. Let me do this first. No, let's do this. All right. Reset. Peace, Brother Dean. Dean in the scene. I like that. Dean in the scene. Drop a comment, say hi, say hello. Let me know where you are checking in from. You know, price of admission, even though I give tons of real estate game and freebies, price of admission for the show is letting me know you're here. Press one, lets me know you're here. Press two, lets me know you shared it. So press one says I'm here. Two lets me know you shared it. All right. Shout out to those of you who have been supporting for the last couple years and segments. And I'm really excited about how much we've progressed in the show. I'm really enjoying how much we've progressed in the show. And let me know what you think about. What do you think about the intro trailer? Like that was my huge level up for the show. Kicking off the show was getting that video trailer. Before it was just me and my wonderful smile and saying hi, I'm here, hello. So lots of growth has happened. We are continuing our show segment of HUD homes. We are going to do part two today. And I want to first time out before I do all of that, right? So time out before I do all of that. My name's Lisa Gillett. So funny because I was like, my name's Lisa P, formerly known as Lisa Porto, as a married woman now. Actually celebrated my first anniversary. Woohoo! And many more to come. So now, Lisa Gillette, also known as Super Agent, I am your show host and creator of Ready, Set Real Estate. I am an active California real estate broker, professional. I'm an agent trainer, keynote speaker, award winning author, and a whole bunch of other stuff that my resume goes on and on and on. I teach children real estate literacy, ages 10 and up, and I do that in collaboration with various boot camps, both offline and online. So the work and the movement of Real Estate 100 still continues. Again, that's our book, Real Estate 100, the teen home buying experience. And I want to say this, I don't know what's happened, but I was actually, so it's tax time and you kind of look at your records and the bookkeeping. And I was noticing that the book sales for part one have really gone up. And I say part one because my co-author, Anthony Lee of Philly Realtor and Investor, we co-authored a book called Real Estate 100, the Teen and Millennial Investment Blueprint. So it was kind of our spinoff and continuing of that series. I will be bringing Real Estate 100, the Teen and Millennial Real Estate, or excuse me, Land developer will be coming soon. I know I put that on hold because I was working on other projects that took precedence over releasing that book, but it's coming. The good news, it is coming. So last week, it is coming. So I just want to say that. And I'm just going to pause there to re-up my water here because you know I get a little parched. So last week, we talked about HUD homes. And I was showing you live on the site, and I was doing that in practicality, right? So I will do screen share today. You'll get to see screen share. We're going to talk about just a segment. I wanted to break this up and hone in on some areas that probably need a lot more attention than most. And so we're going to talk a little bit about down payment today and the difference with, just FHA insured loans versus down payment assistance. Because I hear that a lot from people. Do you have first time home buyer programs? Do you have down payment assistance? And I feel like it warrants more of a conversation and an education about going over that. Okay. So with that, I say, let's let's bring up this screen here. Screen share. Let us share the screen. What's happening? Okay, very good. Woo woo in the building. All right. So we were talking about HUD homes, and the website again is hudhomestore.gov. hudhomestore.gov. Let me go ahead and drop that in the comments here for us. And this is where you would begin your home search for HUD homes. This is on the website, and they have a portfolio in various states across the country for FHA inventory. So FHA insured homes that were in default, got foreclosed on, the lender filed a claim, and the claim is paid out, meaning I believe it's 1/3 of the outstanding loan balance is what FHA insurance pays out to the lender. And then in turn, they receive the property, and then it becomes a HUD home. All right. Let's see. Shout out to those of you who are tuning in on our radio podcast everywhere. I did say that the other day. We are now available on all platforms. Yep. HUDhomestore.gov. Okay. Take your notes, screenshot. So what I'm doing today is I'm showing you, and for those of you who are listening on the radio podcast and you want to see the video of today's presentation, you should check out Spotify, because Spotify does now allow you to view video. Get the Spotify app. We're there. Or Facebook Watch and or YouTube. And then on Instagram as well. Instagram is the replay. We are not doing live on IG. Not yet. I'm going to set up another camera. I've just figured out how to do it. I used to do it and forgot that I used to do Instagram live, and I forgot how I did it. But now I remember. So let's go back to, for example purposes, we were looking at HUD homes in Pennsylvania. And here we have a list of HUD properties. I'm going to minimize, let's see. All right, you've got that. And so we've got a list of properties in various counties, and you can filter this down. Let me go back up. So you can filter this down based on county, city, even down to the street if you're looking for a particular area or pocket. I won't recommend you doing so many filters because there aren't that many that show up, right? So it's a process. There's a process that happens where once the asset manager takes it, then the field service managers go in and inspect, and there's a behind the scenes process in preparing and marketing and listing these properties to the general public. The great thing is that notice here in what we talked about last week is we talked about the listing period. So notice here it has listing period. And what's really important to you all, if you're not an investor and you are a general consumer looking for your primary residence, or you're a nonprofit organization, this means that these particular properties are available to you during the exclusive listing period. And what that means is during that time from the market is listed and marketed, there is a very limited time and date only to be sold and considered, meaning offer considerations and bids come from nonprofit organizations and those who are acquiring the property as their primary residence. Okay. So as we've seen numbers jump up in single and double digits in terms of pricing and overbid wars and just the market's going crazy, HUD homes are a place that maybe you should check out That way you're not competing with a larger pool of everyone. And that's what's important here, is that you recognize that there's an opportunity here for you to get your foot in the door. Before I talked about properties, I did say that there's that important thing. Notice here, broker search in the taskbar up here in the tab, you see broker search. And so in order to submit a bid on a property, you've got to be working with a registered HUD broker. I'm a registered HUD broker, and that's why I want to talk more about that, is because it's not something I usually talk about, is being a HUD broker. But since it became this continuing question about wanting to purchase foreclosed homes, well, here you are. That's what a HUD home is. It's foreclosed property. And so make sure you have your financing in place, etc. Let's take a look at this for example purposes. Today, let's look at this one here. Pay attention to the directions here. So I really like that they're very, very strict on their directions. So we mentioned in the last class, again, case number. If you're joining us again, you recall what the case number was associated when you deal with FHA or HUD properties or HUD contracts in general. You're usually going to have a case number assigned. With that being said, let's talk about this thing about FHA insured loans. It's very important, especially if you are a seller too as well and looking to market your property for sale. It is very important for you to know that if you accept an offer from a buyer who's using an FHA insured loan, and they go through all the way through to the point where they get an FHA appraisal, that appraisal will be attached to the property for 6 months. What does that mean? You fall out of escrow. If you weren't happy with the number, don't expect that the appraisal, if you accept another FHA buyer, that the appraisal is going to be different, because in fact, what happens is they're going to use that number, that valuation that was assigned via that case number to that property for a 6 months period. So very important when you're working with a professional that they understand that. They understand the difference with accepting an offer from an FHA buyer or a conventional buyer, a VA buyer, meaning a veteran who's using a zero down payment program. And we'll talk more about that today because, again, it warrants more explanation and conversation. So here you have, this says it has 8 bedrooms. Is this a multifamily? Oh, no, it's a single family with 8 bedrooms. Whoa. No. Oh, 8 total rooms. Woo, I was like, whoa, y'all doing it big in Philly. Y'all doing it big. No. So I'm jumping ahead under property info. Let's go ahead and continue this section here about eligible bidders. So at this point, it says all bidders. All bidders. But notice here in this pink section, it says the availability of home is subject to the asset manager accepting a bid from an earlier bid period or removing the home from the market. So that earlier bid period means the exclusive period. So they are accepting offers from the pool of people that submitted during the exclusive period. Although at this point, in terms of the date that it's been on the market, it has now exceeded that exclusive period. And they are accepting bids from everyone, but they're the asset manager who's representing HUD, right? Or they are marketing, or excuse me, they are negotiating and working with those offers from that previous period. Let's see here. What else? Read the instructions, and that's what you've got to do. Bid submission deadlines, it says daily at midnight. So even though now it's open to everyone else, you can submit now. Time remaining, it says 10 hours. Okay, let's look into the property info. I really like to go through. So gives you the address. It's not like some places where you feel like you've got to buy a list. Most people are like, where do I get this list from? Get this list. Well, connect with your local real estate professionals. We can give you access to foreclosed properties and those distressed properties. in a particular market, zip code, or area. Okay, just reach out and ask. Of course, when you do that, so one of the caveats with doing that, you ask for this list. I mean, of course, when you're reaching out to a professional, they want to know that that you are qualified or have the resources or funds to purchase it. And two, that ideally you would work with them. So not in the business of just shelling out information, because we do take, this is our time, right? This is what we do for a living. So respect what we do as professionals, and certainly we give you the utmost respect when you are working with us as a client, at least from that aspect. That's my little tidbit about that, because I know you go to these seminars and these webinars and they're like, contact a real estate professional and ask them for a list, and they'll give it to you, and then you go do something else. It's like, you should focus on building relationships, because I've said this time and time. When you identify a professional agent broker that you are comfortable with, you have respect, they're knowledgeable, they're experienced, there's integrity, and there's trust. Having that person as part of your top five, and I've talked about your top five, this is your mind, body, spirit, right? Having them as one of your top five, meaning this is someone that's going to look out for you, your best interest. You are top of mind. They are working to support what your goals are, both professionally, personally. They will save you tons of money. I save my clients money. My repeat clients save even more money, right? So when we're working together and you're building that rapport and working relationship, think about this reciprocity, okay? All right, I'm off my soapbox. It's just, when you think about networking, it's funny because Anthony talked about this in the book. When people are like, how do I get in? I want to flip homes. Where do I find and where do I build my team? Well, it's identifying the people that once you explain to them what you're doing, say, this is long term for me. This is what I'm seeking to do. I'm looking to build my team, my core, team, my core top five, whatever, right? However you express that. But when you are wanting to establish a relationship with someone, professionally, business wise, that goes a long way, much further than you probably even planned. Then I want to point out down here, notice it says first time buyer. Aha, find a broker, right? If not, it says HUD registered bidder, submit an offer. That means you are HUD registered broker and you're submitting an offer for the client you're representing. Yes, Brother Dean says hashtag team 12, team 1-2, team 12. And then Brother Lowry, welcome. Talk about, flipping it in the wholesale game. We've got Antoine, very own Antoine, doing a thing. Good afternoon, he says, everyone, and Lisa. Welcome to our second part of purchasing HUD homes. Make sure you share the love and let people know. And then, so now let's look at the listing information here. And I just want to recap before I get into the financing aspect of it, or and the down payment aspect of it. Okay, so, and those of you who are catching us on a replay, please drop hashtag replay. And if you yourself experienced and or purchased your property through HUD Homes as a HUD home, please let us know here. And what came to mind was NACA. I think I'm going to get a NACA speaker to come talk to us on the show. One of my past guests purchased her home through NACA. NACA has reinvented the experience of buying properties. And so I feel like we should highlight and talk about them as well, because they nationally, and in comparison to interest rates all across the country, they offer the lowest rates. From what I've learned is through a rate buy down is what they do. And so that's why I want to talk to someone directly from NACA. So we'll work on that. We'll add them to our list of guests that will come soon. Listing information. Here we are on the right-hand panel of this. So listing information, the list date January 1st. So this was a new property that hit the market. The listing period has been extended and the period deadline is June 29th. So they're giving it about 6 months to move this property. The list price is $226,500 for a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, total square feet, living square feet is 2,200 2,200, right? Just over 2,200. The lot size, however, is 20,000 square feet. Wow, that's a tremendous, tremendous lot. FHA financing, it says insured escrow, and 203K eligible, yes. So we like to hear that as long as you can qualify for the 203K. We like to hear 203K eligible. Why? Is because you can incorporate the rehab costs in the loan by way of a 203K rehab loan. You can rehab, you can incorporate that. Incorporate the purchase price plus the rehab loan all into one fixed interest rate, one term, right? 30-year term, 20, 30-year term, amortized over that period, and you've got one payment. So you're not paying your Home Depot loan, your credit cards, this, private money, the second, all this other stuff. This is a good opportunity for you to get your foot in the door and finance or roll into the rehab costs. By the way, if you weren't familiar or new, that show on HGTV, I don't know if it's still going, but Property Brothers, where they show you, oh, this dream property. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Right? And they ask the people, what do you think it's worth? And they're like, oh, it's definitely out of our budget. We think it's this amount. And they say, yeah, it's way out of your budget. But what if you could customize and build your own dream home within your own budget? That's what they do. They roll in the rehab costs in a 203K loan. So the buyers are actually using the acquisition purchase price and the cost of the rehab what they're eligible to purchase. So if buying power is 500,000, they want to lower the acquisition cost, 200 something, 300 something, and then you still have 30, 40, 50, 150,000, 200,000 to do the rehab on top of that. As long as it does not exceed the overall purchasing power. All right. Let's focus to, I like to jump to addendums here. Let's see if there's any addendums. Always addendums. Closing, property listing disclosure, property condition report. Let's take a look at that. See if it opens up for us. Oh, here it is. I opened it a couple of times. Property condition report. So what I like about this is that they've had a field service manager or engineer, someone that has gone out and has checked the condition of these listed appliances, plumbing, and electrical. So let's take a look at this. It says cooling and air conditioner, okay. Heating furnace, okay. HVAC system duct, okay. HVAC tested and functional, yes. Was it working? Utilities on, gas is on. Utilities on, the gas is off, right? So we won't know in terms of gas, with the gas being off. Electrical in terms of the furnace, right, is what I'm talking about. The electrical wiring, it says it's okay. Electrical supply tested and functional, yes. Stove, range, oven, kitchen, okay, okay, okay. Best built-in appliances tested and functional, yes. Plumbing, water supply, sink, okay, tested and functional, yes. Water heater, yes, it's functional. And notice here, it's telling you, the inspector is saying, the field service manager has gone out, it's saying the plumbing pressure test and passed, meaning they go out and they look at the PSI and indicate that it's stable and it's tested. When you start to see that PSI right at high, it's high, it's because there's a leak somewhere. You're losing pressure. At water heater, visually inspected and passed. The sewer septic system, very important to know whether your property is located in an area whether there's a sewer or a septic system, because septic systems require servicing regularly, about $170 or so, depending where you are, to get that cleaned out, servicing, or more. $170. I was thinking about tankless water heaters. People install tankless water heaters and forget to service them, and you get calcium buildup. You've got to run vinegar through it. but get someone to regularly service your tankless water heaters, okay? And then the roof. It says roof in acceptable condition. Yes, visually inspected. Let's talk about this roof, because if you have what appears to be possible water stains or some issues, visual issues, what's going to happen is they're going to want what is called a roof certification, possibly a roof certification, to show that that roof has a lifeline of at least 3 years in order to finance it, right? Because the lender is looking at whether this property is in a condition, right? What are we financing? What is this collateral? If in the event the borrower defaults and now we have to take it back, is it going to cost us, right? How are we going to be able to move this property out of our portfolio and back onto the resale market? And so they're looking at the insurability of that property. And with FHA Insured Loans, they do have a checklist. I think it's a 52-point checklist that that property has to meet for the insurability of that property. Okay, find that info helpful? I do. Okay, more addendums, incentives. Ooh, I like incentives. Let's look at incentives. Oh, no incentives here. And that's about it. Okay, because these aren't clickable for me. Oh, duh. Let me go back. Incentives. Let's look at incentives. Something like maybe seller paid closing costs. Philadelphia Homeownership Center current sale incentives. As of October 1st, 2016, it looks like HUD, Philadelphia Center Region, has launched this incentive. 2 incentives are, let's highlight that. 2 incentives are designed to benefit both buyers and real estate agents registered with HUD and further supports HUD's mission to provide affordable home ownership opportunities. The following incentives for all properties sold: buyer incentive, $100 down payments on HUD homes financed with FHA insurance financing for owner-occupant buyers. So guess what? They give you $100 more towards your down payment. The agent, real estate selling agents, they get $500 for every HUD home purchase with a FHA rehab loan. I was just talking about that, even though I didn't know there was an incentive to even talk about that, right? But guess what? It says in order for you to qualify for the broker bonus, the bid must have been awarded on or after October 1st, 2016, and the purchase must be made with the FHA 203K loan. Are we after October 1st, 2016? Absolutely. That means a registered selling agent can get $500 as an agent bonus, and the buyer gets an additional $100 on their down payment. I love it. I love it. Good stuff. What else do we have here? You see why reading addendums are important? Because you don't miss out. Listing disclosure, incentives, environmental compliance, and e-signature. Okay, those are pretty much straightforward. Now, what I would like to do here is pause for any questions or comments, because I'm going to switch my screen and we're going to go into talking about down payment. Questions and or comments. Questions and or comments. Drop those now as we continue our segment of Buying a HUD Home Part 2. Thanks again for joining. We've got a full class today. That's great. You guys are interested in buying these foreclosures, I see. Hashtag foreclosed homes, right? 2022 foreclosed homes. Okay, if we're good, moving along. Great, I'm moving along. Let's change up here. I'm going to stop this share and bring this one in. All right. So let's talk about what is your purchasing power. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because it's one thing to say, I want to buy a foreclosed home or shop on the HUD site before you even move in that direction. And I'm going to talk about the traditional way. And I have to say that because I see Antoine's here and in the chat, and he's doing it a non-traditional way as he accessed properties by way of wholesaler flipping, what we call flipping contracts, right? So you type the contract and then you're going to sign that and flip that. If you're in California, I don't know how it works in other states. If you are in California and you are assigning your contract to purchase to another entity or party, you now have to disclose that you are doing that, and you have to disclose essentially how much money you're making on. So you have to disclose what you are purchasing it for and what you are selling it for, so that the seller is now aware of the difference. In other words, how much money potentially they're leaving on the table that you're getting as the wholesaler by flipping that contract to another buyer. So here in California, I knew this was going to happen because California is not really a state where we are. California is not really pro assignments and flipping, and you can see that too when you work with agent professionals, even including myself. Is because oftentimes what I see is our senior and elder community are usually preyed upon and targeted. So not knocking anybody in the wholesale game. Listen, do you, right? I always say, do you, boo. But here in California, we've seen just some really, horrid things in terms of people being scammed, robbed, and taken when they're dealing with the assignment contract. So our purchase contracts now actually stipulate that disclosure. They want people to know and be very clear that you are aware that you're selling your property for well below market value, and this person is now going to sell it to another person at this much, and this is how they're getting paid. So in a way, I think that's a good thing, is because you don't have to, as long as you're clear with people, you're transparent, there shouldn't be an issue. And that's my thing. When people know that that's what you do in business and they're clear, like, hey, I need to have enough meat per se on the bones in order to take this property and be able to put in work and flip it and put it back on the resale market to make a profit. When people understand that you are doing this to make a profit, it makes it much more clear, right? And it empowers them with the decision as to whether they want to be involved and move forward in that particular transaction. All right. What is your purchasing power? So let's talk about down payments. And on the next section, I'm going to talk about down payment assistance. So there are a couple ways that you can purchase property with less than 20% down. Kudos to you if you want to save up 20%. Kudos to you. But I'd like this thing called OPM. So drop in the comments down below OPM for me, hashtag OPM, right? Oops, let's bring that back up. Hashtag OPM. Like, yeah, where'd my slide go? Hashtag OPM. What does that mean? You want to be down with OPP? No. I don't want to be down with OPP. I want to be down with OPM, right? Hashtag OPM. What does it stand for, right? Thanks, Danina, for dropping in. Hashtag OPM is other people's money. Thank you, Brother Dean. OPM, other people's money. Hey, Gloria, great seeing you here. Thanks for checking in. OPM stands for other people's money. What does that mean? If I can leverage using someone else's money, right? You could be in the role of the investor too, as a borrower, if you're strategically using and leveraging the programs and the incentives. I just talked about the incentive, right? Get $100. Hey, so $100 you didn't have to bring to the table. You have to think about that. What are you bringing to the table? And so leveraging what you have already against what someone else is going to bring to assist you in purchasing this property. So out of 100%, because we need 100%, there are still 100% financing, but in theory, right, the way it actually works, it's not necessarily 100% financing. Why? Is because someone is putting the money. You may not be putting everything down, right? You may not be putting everything down. Thank you, Danina. Remember, press 1. I'm here. Press 2. I shared it. It's price of admission. You may not be bringing all the money, but someone else is. And that's what I want to talk about when we talk about down payment assistance, DPA assistance. So let's talk about VA. All right. Let's drop in the comments. VA. And I'm going to do classroom style with you too, just like when I teach my classes. VA, I want you to take these notes. When you're engaging and you're involved, that's when you're more apt to retain this information, because it might be new for the first time you're hearing it, or it's a refresher or reminder. You can say, I didn't even think about it. So let's talk about VA. VA stands for Veterans Administration. Veterans Administration. VA loans. VA loans allow someone, including their spouse and or children, to utilize their VA certificate to purchase their property with zero down. What does zero down? It means zero down payment. Zero down. June says, I'm here. Wonderful. We've got a lender that's in the building. All right, June. Help me build on this segment. Don't let me do it alone. I always welcome my experts and my professionals to chime in. It makes it that much fun and engaging because there are other people here watching that have questions, right? So, yeah, with VA and that's zero down. So here, I want you to realize this is such a missed opportunity. When you're consulting, okay, professionals, right? When you're consulting, you're responsible. I'm going to charge you with the responsibility to ask people, hey, is anyone a military veteran, right? Anyone in the Army? Has anyone served? And and I get it. They've got to meet the eligibility. And you can defer them to the VA, right? So that they can get the certificate. And when you work with an experienced loan officer who does VA loans and has those resources, they can gauge you through those steps, right? Because there is a step in a process so that what they need is to show that you've got your VA eligibility certificate that shows that you've qualified. There is a thing such as partial disability and full disability. The difference with working with an experienced lender who has done VA loans, and I've seen this happen in clients that I've worked with who've come to me and they're working with someone, but not necessarily the lender has experience with VA loans. And what happens, here's what happens if you're not working with someone experienced. I have to say it. Okay, I have to say it. Drop in the comments, say it. Say, Lisa, say it. Just say it. Drop in the comments, say it. I have to say it. When you're working with someone who's not familiar with doing VA loans, guess what? That particular borrower loses purchasing power. Thank you, Jude. She's like, say it. That borrower loses purchasing power. Why? Because VA uses a formula to qualify. It's almost like a round up formula. They can take what they're eligible for and it's multiplied by a factor that it's built in to boost their qualifying numbers. Very important. And I'm just talking on a single family unit. Guess what? You can use VA loans to purchase multi-family units as well. And I had a client who he got cold feet, and I understand working with the veteran community is a very sensitive thing. And it comes with its own challenges, but it's so worth it because they've served our country and they deserve home ownership. They deserve home ownership. So I'm so happy that we have those programs available. With that being said, let me say this disclaimer about working with a VA or veteran loan where you say it's zero down. You may say to me, you mean, I'm going to hold there. I want to catch up with the comments. June says, you are absolutely right. VA is the way to go for those with the eligibility. It has always been my favorite loan. That's right. Lenders in the building. Experienced lenders. And so one of the important things with knowing, though, here's the thing, right? Because people hear VA zero down, they say, oh, so I don't need any money? Not true. Not true, right, June? No, you need to have something, at least in California, to open escrow. It's not necessarily, and I want to just also say this, it's not a requirement that you need a deposit. It's what is typically the standard in terms of that state, right? If this is a state where you should submit a deposit anywhere from $500 to thousands of dollars, that depends on how the contract terms are written and what the seller is willing to accept. If we do a story loan or a story package, a story offer, meaning I am explaining to the seller's agent and expecting the seller to relay the information to, or excuse me, expecting the listing agent to relay the information to the seller and say, hey, my client's a veteran. It's an opportunity, a great opportunity for them to purchase this property. And so his money is tied up and it's not liquid. It might be in some pension or something where he doesn't have the money immediately available, but he only has $500 or $1,000. This is what we can use to open escrow. And because he's using a VA loan, he is not putting a down payment. So there is no down payment requirement in terms of proof of funds. And then there's this thing called closing costs, which you can negotiate the seller to pay towards that veteran's closing costs. We'll talk more about closing costs. Stay tuned. All right. Any comments, questions, feedback on the VA loan? Got it? For good, let me know. Press 1. Let me know you're okay, and I'm going to move forward. All right. So VA, we're good. Veterans. And think about that. Go through those checklists of people in your family. It's funny, when I did this with the class and the kids were like, you mean, it was so funny. It was a young lady and she was like 11. She said, do you mean if I married someone and my husband was in the military and he served, I could use his? Yes, right? You've got to be married in order to be eligible to use the certificate and assist in the qualification process. So yes, it's so funny. In one of my transactions, we actually got my client's longtime partner, we actually got them married during the process so we can use her income to help qualify. Yeah, they went down to the recorder's office so it can be official and legit. You'd be amazed at the things that we've done to help people. All right, so far so good. Moving along. Let's talk about the FHA insured loan, what most of you call the first-time home buyer loan. Right? Most of you refer to this as the first-time home buyer. Do you have any first-time buyer programs? Yes, let's talk about that. The definition of a first-time home buyer is the definition of a first-time home buyer by HUD, because we're talking about HUD homes, by HUD's requirements and guidelines is what? Someone who has not owned or written off the mortgage interest in the last 3 years. You mean to say if I bought a house and then I lost it in foreclosure, or I gave it back to the bank in deed in lieu of foreclosure, or I just sold it, and it's been 5 years, it's been 7 years, it's been 10 years. Now that life is different, things are different. I'm thinking about buying a house again. I'm in a better space. You mean to tell me I'm a first-time home buyer? Yes. You are considered a first-time home buyer, even if once upon a time you bought and owned a property, but then sold it, lost it in foreclosure, gave it back in deed in lieu, short sale, whatever happened, whatever. And that could be various things, right? Life happens. But guess what? That property is no longer in your name and you're not writing the interest deduction on your taxes, which is why lenders, right? June, correct me if I'm wrong, you're asking for the tax returns last 3 years. And why is that? Is because when you're wanting to qualify for full eligibility and qualification, pre-approval, what are you looking for? You're looking for 3 letters on the tax return that stands for AGI, the adjusted gross income. It's tax time and I have to talk about it. It's tax time and I have to talk about it. Drop AGI in the comments for me. Stands for adjusted gross income. Adjusted gross income. They are looking to see not how much money you made for the year, but what was the take home for the year, which is the adjusted gross income after you've deducted all these deductions. You made 80,000 for the year, but you wrote off 20,000, right? Or whatever. And now it's 60,000. The lender's going to qualify you based on your AGI. Gets a little complicated if you're running self-employed independent stuff, then there's Schedule C. They're looking at profits and loss. A profit and loss can be a doozy. I've had a client lose the opportunity to purchase because she had a loss on her tax return because she was presenting to have a tutoring business that she wrote off as a loss in order to increase her tax refund. So purchasing is tax strategy, okay? You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to purchase this year. You need to have a conversation with your tax advisor and say, I'm planning to purchase. And that's what they will then start to look at your deductions and make sure that you are maximizing, retaining, or showing that you've earned X amount of money per the year, because your purchasing power is based on how much you bring home, the AGI. All right, so I got a question here. Danita says, if you sold it about 6 to 7 months ago, it's too soon. Is that correct? As a first-time buyer, so if you sold, yeah, you no longer have an FHA loan. So if you no longer have an FHA loan, you can go back and now purchase an FHA. And guess what? What's even interesting is if you're married, because this happened to one of my clients. She was married, going through a separation. Her name was on title. Her name was on the loan, but she never wrote off the mortgage interest. She never claimed it on her tax returns. So when we sold their house in the separation, she got her money. And guess what? By HUD's definition, she was a first-time buyer, and she put 3.5% down on her new home that she bought by herself. She took her proceeds from the sale of her existing home that she shared with her now ex-husband. She did not write off the mortgage interest deduction, so she now could use FHA, insured loan, because you can have an FHA insured loan in your name at one time. You can go buy more property, but it's not going to be an FHA insured loan. You've got to use it for primary occupancy residence. Primary occupancy residence. All right, good. June says that is correct. We asked for 3 years tax returns so that we see there was no mortgages interest written off. Also, yes, the AGI is so important. See, lenders confirming. Loan officer in the building. Watch the write-offs on that Schedule C. Absolutely. You've got to watch the write. I'm gonna keep that up for a while, because that was in summary what I was just talking about. Just in summary what I was talking about. AGI, drop it in the comments. AGI stands for the adjusted gross income. I think on the 1040, it's line item, June, what is it? Line item 18 or 27? I think that's what it was. Line item 18 or 27. I forget. That's what popped in my head. I was looking at my tax returns, but I was also looking at corporate tax returns too. So don't hold me to it, but it says there, adjusted gross income. In fact, I think it's in bold. Why? Because it says after you've added up and deducted everything, this is what we're looking for, right? This is the tax. This is what becomes taxable income. The reason why you've got to watch the deductions on that is because what you're communicating to a bank, to a lender that you're trying to borrow money, you're saying, oh, I didn't make 80,000 or 100,000. I only made 12,000, right? Because you're trying to, quote unquote, get away with not paying so much taxes, and you're trying to increase your refund. I've noticed that it's very common for people to come up with side hustles on the Schedule C of what they're doing, and they write off a loss so that they can increase their refund. But guess what? Do not start doing a home search at that time then, if that's the case. Not a time to use your tax returns to buy and qualify for a property. There's other ways, creative financing, going stated, and all that other stuff, but higher interest rate, higher down payment, it's not going to be FHA, right? They are very black and white, paper trail and everything, right? Denise says, great, thank you. I believe I claimed on 2020, so I'd have to wait for that option. So you claimed the interest and you sold. June, chime in this question real quick, so just to make sure we're clear. So what I'm understanding, she says it was not foreclosed on. She sold her home in about 6 months ago. She did write off the mortgage interest deduction for 2020. And she's wondering, can she purchase as an FHA buyer? Can she use an FHA loan again, right? My understanding is if she no longer has an FHA loan because she sold the property, she would be eligible. June, chime in. All right. Great questions. Love it. Because this will answer someone else's question as well. This will answer someone else's question. Give yourself an opportunity to get all this free game for free. This is why I love doing a Wednesday show on Ready, Set, Real Estate, is because you get to speak and consult with those lenders. All right. We're continuing on FHA 3.5%. We talked about VA, 0 down. FHA insured loans allows you to do 3.5% down payment. Again, this is just a down payment. Just a down payment. You can negotiate and ask for seller credits, broker credits, lender credits to assist on the closing costs. So remember, not just a down payment you should be thinking about and saving for, but there is that thing called closing costs. You go to the store, what do? You buy the item, you pay taxes, right? You go anywhere, there's additional fees and there's additional costs associated. So keep in mind that you're not just saving for the down payment, you're saving for the reserves on the loan that are often required 6 months, 3 months, depending on who the lender is. They will want to see at least 3 months of reserves, meaning you can carry this mortgage for at least 3 months. Don't want you to put you in a house and then you don't have enough money to make the payments. That's not the best for you, right? That's a disservice to you if we don't show that you can actually sustain covering the mortgage. All right. Danita adds, I appreciate you doing this training because I'm buying this year. Woo woo! Hey, real estate goals. Love it. Love it. Awesome. I'm glad you're here taking the time. So with FHA, you also want to be mindful. Conventional has this as well. With FHA, they have this thing called private mortgage insurance. Remember we were talking about HUD homes? HUD homes are what? They are foreclosed on FHA properties because FHA is insuring the default, the risk of default. Once the property, the borrower no longer pays on it, the lender forecloses, the lender submits an insurance claim. The lender submits an insurance claim. HUD pays out the claim. FHA is the insurer, pays out the claim, usually about 1/3 of the outstanding loan balance. Now it's a HUD home. But guess what? They're able to pay out those claims is because there's a pool of money collected by way of the premium you have been paying. So this, although it's great to put 3.5% down, do know it costs you to put less than 20% down, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing that you're putting less than 20% down. Be mindful it does cost because there's this thing called the upfront mortgage insurance premium and the private mortgage insurance, which is the PMI. These are items. Next week, what I'm going to decide to do is we're going to go over line items and buyers' estimates and closing statements. So you can actually see how the numbers translate into dollars, right? Percentage and dollars, costs and fees. So be mindful that there is that private mortgage insurance premium. It's built into the loan. It's built into the cost of the loan, and it's also built into your mortgage payments. All right, be mindful. Moving on, let's talk about the conventional loan, right? Conventional loan, there are, depending on the lenders, and I have to always say, depending on the lenders. If one lender or bank has turned you down, I recommend keep looking, keep shopping, keep working so that you can find the yes. Why are they turning you down? Usually banks have different underwriting guidelines. I have to bring up this reminder here, right? So know the difference between your mortgage banker and know the difference between a direct lender and mortgage broker. Mortgage brokers are shopping the loans very, not oftentimes are mortgage brokers funding the loan unless they're funding through their own brokered accounts. But mortgage brokers are shopping their loans, and they do it with a fee, right? They tack that in the cost of doing the loan. Or you work with a direct lender where they have mortgage consultants, mortgage lenders that are representing their products, right? Representing how they underwrite the loans. And oftentimes what they're doing is, as in the business of issuing loans, those loans are later packaged and resold on the secondary market, where you have the big government, right? And right now they're still underseen as big government. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae loans come in and buy them. So that's why paper trailing, tax returns, underwriting guidelines, insurability of the property, all that needs to be met during the underwriting guidelines, is because the bigger scheme of things is those loans are being packaged and sold. Happens every single day. Very normal process in this business. When the loan is being sold, by the way, it does not affect your interest rate. It does not affect your terms. You usually get notification that your loan was sold or transferred to a different bank, or is now being serviced by a different mortgage servicer, and they will communicate that with you. When you do that, and this is just my tip, and remember, CFPB does offer a homeowner's guide to success. If you want that, send me an email. And I think it's a great thing to have, especially if you're getting back into homeownership, you're new to homeownership. It has a budget worksheet. It has some great tips on counseling agencies, HUD you can call being one of them, to help you in the event of financial hardship. There is assistance and resources available. So send me an email if you need it or haven't gotten your copy at lisa@laSuperAgent.com, again, for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's Homeowner's Guide to Success. Again, if you're not talking with people that are talking about retention, homeownership retention, there's a difference between homeownership, I think, and homeownership retention, helping you keep it, right? It's one thing to just sell you a property. Great, you've got it, but then life happens, called a pandemic, right? Who has been talking about retaining? What are your options available? The government is doing their thing to do it. It's websites, resources, and different things. In fact, LA County has voted on extending the protections for renters through the end of 2022 for non-payment of rent. That was a big deal right now. Big deal. They voted on it yesterday, and it's been officially extended. So can evict people for non-payment of rent because of the pandemic. So that's going to continue. In fact, we anticipate that's going to continue until next year. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about the conventional loan products. And this is why I started to say, depends on what bank, depends on what lender, because some will offer 3% loan product, conventional. You can go 3% conventional depending on your FICO score, right? Depending on your FICO score. By the way, what I'm learning recently, I don't know if June is still on, but I'm hearing new announcements that in order to qualify, right, get in with par interest rates on the FHA, interest rates have now gone from 680 to 640. So FICO score 640, lenders are willing to underwrite the loans. Be clear, FHA is an insurer. They do not stipulate FICO score requirements. They leave that up to the lender. The lender has an underwriting guideline. This is why you need to check or shop with different banks and lenders, because what one bank requires, another may not. There is a difference, right? Some banks will do FICO scores as low as 580, but what will they require? A higher down payment. It will not be 3.5%. It'll be closer to 10%. So usually for business owners, self-employed, if you have more liquidity in terms of cash and you have 10% down and you don't have the best FICO score, that's what could be a compensating factor, or it offsets your not having the FICO score as where the lender would require it. Okay. June says, yes, the 640 FICO score can be acceptable. Overall factors play a part too. Overall factors is, like I said, compensating factors. They're wanting to look at job stability, how long you've been at work, same position, same industry. Be mindful as you're starting to think, because right now I'm noticing right through the great resignation of 2021, they said about 33 million people left the work industry. 33 million people left the work industry, and you see for hire everywhere. So as you're thinking about your plan for purchasing, right? And I don't know if this would be allowable, June, but I would think that would be a LOE is what we call, right? A letter of explanation as to making the transition from one industry to a next, right? Pandemic being one huge thing. I do work with lenders, and I know many lenders were still underwriting loans even during the pandemic when people stopped working for weeks and months. But as long as they could show HR or the employer could show they still had a job, they would still get those loans funded. So that's what I was really happy about, is that we still saw people getting loans, home loans. But again, June says, as our loan officer here, um, overall factors have to be considered. What are what we call compensating factors? Remember, FHA, I'm going to go back to FHA, is a story loan. It's a story loan. You get to paint the story. Why is the FICO score low, right? Well, life happened. I lost my job. I got sick. I got divorced. All these different things happen. This is why this blemish is on my credit. This is why this judgment showed up, but I'm now paying it off, or I'm making payments, right? You get to explain what's going on. Story loans, that's what it is. Now with conventional, as I said, same thing. Be mindful that they have something similar to the FHA loan, which is the the private mortgage insurance. With conventional, they have it called the other thing, mortgage premium insurance. Same thing. It's the risk premium being charged to the borrower for putting less than 20% down. And those rates and those premiums and fees vary. Again, full disclaimer, I'm not a lender, but I do study and learn this stuff about loans, is because when I consult with clients, I've got to have some working knowledge of how I can assist that borrower, buyer, client to getting their foot in the door. If you are an agent, you are an agent professional, and you're just getting started, I implore you to connect with your lenders and learn this stuff. Sit and learn the products, learn the requirements, so that you are having a more, what I like to say, fruitful and productive conversation and consultation with your buyer clients. Help your lender not do all the work, right? Even though they're great, but it helps gauge your client, gather some information that you can then, when you refer them over to your lender partners, you can say, well, this is what I understand. They may meet this, but you can confirm that. At least give your client some guidance. All right, I'm going to pause here for any comments or questions. How are we doing? Let's see, how are we doing on time? Ooh, wow, I went over. I'm going to cover down payment assistance shortly, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. So down payment assistance, questions, comments, feedback, questions, comments, feedback. Question, comments, feedback. Okay, good so far? I'll check in with you shortly. Let's talk about down payment assistance. You're asking, right? If you're asking, I want down payment assistance. Oh, and we know statistically the down payment has been the biggest barrier to allowing people to get their foot in the door. So this almost has a double-edged sword, and I can talk about it in this light. I can speak about it in this light. It has a double-edged sword, and it may work for some people. It may not work for everyone. And why is because we really have to talk about what down payment assistance is, right? There is a difference between what we call silent loans, right? Money being subsidized versus true grants where you don't have to repay. It's like if you were going to college, you applied for a loan, right? Notice that they had subsidized loans, meaning when you graduate college or if you drop out, interest rate starts and you've got to start repaying us, right? There are stipulations and requirements that need to be met that say in order for you to be eligible to get this money, you've got to do X, Y, Z. Even with down payment assistance, they do have their requirements of, if you qualify for FHA, then you qualify for down payment assistance. And there are various programs, but it's important to know what the fees are involved and whether it's a second loan, even a third loan. And so I've seen that. And here's why I see it, and here's why I say it's a double-edged sword. Great, because it helps you get your foot in the door with little to no down. This is what we call 100% financing, is if you see a primary loan, a secondary loan, and a tertiary loan, which means a third loan on a property. So you've got 1, 2, 3 loans. The second and the third loans are what we call silent loans, and they're in what we call a junior position, meaning the primary loan has the main position in terms of foreclosing on you, getting their money first. The second loan has their, after the first has been paid, the second is next. Then there's the third loan. They may not get paid because we don't know if there's any money left. So not really the best position, but they're still available, and programs and lenders are still doing it. In fact, I saw this announcement that they were now back and offering 100% financing. But here's why not usually the best scenario, because here's why. In the event you want to now do an upsell, right? You want to upgrade, and you got your foot in the door in a starter home, and you use down payment assistance, right? So you use the down payment assistance to pay $16,000 on your first down. Then you needed down payment assistance for your closing costs, which was another $10,000. So now that's $26,000. And then there was some additional costs involved, usually to make up. Then you have an additional $8,000, right? So you've got $26,000 plus 8. I'm making up this number arbitrarily. So we're at $34,000 in down payment assistance. Well, depending on the program, depending on the loan, some are interest free and some have interest calculated. And it's amortized over the years. And the second oftentimes may not require you make payments during the course of you living in the property, but when you sell the property or you refinance, they will recapture all those payments at that time. So what was $34,000 can easily become $60,000, $80,000, and they show up in various forms. So this is why I said be mindful and ask yourself, what is the plan for this house? What's the long-term game, right? Am I getting my foot in the door? Am I going to be here for the next 15, 20 years, 30 years? Then you can weather out the storm of the fluctuation of the market. Because if you sell at a time, or you market that property for sale at a time where the market is not at its highest, today it is, tomorrow may not be. And if you've got these loans that are accumulating interest and they have these additional payoffs, right? 1, 2, 3 loans that need to be paid off, you may be left because they want their money back. It was designed to help you get your foot in the door, increase housing affordability so that we have homeowners, but there will be usually little equity left for you to leverage in the future. And that's just something to be mindful. I can't guarantee you how much equity. There's so many disclosures that you have to sign that says about marketability and market factors goes up and down. So we can't guarantee that you will have enough equity in the sale of that property to pay off all those loans. And then I want to move on to True Grant. Oh, and then they do require minimum occupancy as your primary residence. True Grant, the last one, and then we'll wrap it up, is there are True Grants programs available through usually nonprofit organizations where you pay a fee, an application fee, usually $800 to maybe $900, $1,000 as a one-time application fee. And it allows you to access a true down payment program that does not require payment, right? Repayment. Various programs out there, you've just got to check, shop, get connected with those resources. And oftentimes they require that you at minimum live in the property for at least 6 months. At least 6 months. Okay. All right. With that being said, we're going to wrap up today's show. Man, wasn't that fun? That was some good stuff today. Very heavy in terms of down payments and understanding that. But I can't talk about HUD homes and not talk about how do you get into, using those down payment programs, because I get the question a lot. Foreclosed homes, I want to buy foreclosed homes. All right, with that, I say have a fantastic and powerful and productive week. I'll see you next Wednesday on another information-packed episode. of Ready, Set, Real Estate. Bye.